Imagine a scene from a fantasy epic. A tiny, crumbling fortress, manned by just 2,000 souls, stands defiant against an unstoppable army of 40,000. This isn't a movie script. This is the real story of the siege of Eger in 1552, a battle that would redefine the meaning of courage. In the heart of the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire was a juggernaut, a military machine that had crushed kingdoms and conquered cities across 3 continents. Their sights were now set on the heart of Europe. After the fall of Buda, the capital of Hungary, only one obstacle stood in their way: the small, seemingly insignificant castle of Eger. The Sultan, Suleiman the Magnificent, dispatched a massive force of 40,000 elite warriors, equipped with the most advanced artillery of the age, to swat this fortress out of existence. The Ottomans expected a quick victory, a mere stepping stone on their path to Vienna. They couldn't have been more wrong. Inside Eger's walls were not seasoned soldiers, but ordinary people: farmers, blacksmiths, shopkeepers, priests, and even women and children. A mere 2,100 defenders, led by the iron-willed captain Istvan Dobo. When the Ottoman messenger arrived, demanding surrender, Dobo's response was simple and clear: they would fight to the last breath. He made every man, woman, and child swear an oath to defend the castle or die trying. This wasn't a battle for a king or an empire. It was a desperate fight for their homes, their families, and their very existence. The stage was set for one of history's most astonishing underdog stories. The Ottoman bombardment began with a terrifying roar. For days, massive cannonballs, some weighing over 100 pounds, rained down on Eger's walls. The stone ramparts, already in poor repair, began to crumble. The noise was deafening, the ground trembled, and thick clouds of dust and smoke choked the air. The Ottoman commanders were confident. No fortress could withstand such a relentless assault. They believed it was only a matter of time before the defenders' spirits broke and the gates were thrown open. But inside Eger, something incredible was happening. The defenders, though battered and exhausted, refused to yield. Under Dobo's command, they worked tirelessly day and night, repairing the breaches with anything they could find: earth, wood, and even the bodies of their fallen comrades. As the siege dragged on, the Hungarians knew that conventional defense wasn't enough. They had to get creative. This is where a young lieutenant named György Bornemisza stepped into the spotlight. A brilliant self-taught engineer, Bornemisza became the castle's secret weapon. He transformed everyday objects into deadly instruments of war. He packed simple clay pots with gunpowder, oil, and shrapnel, creating primitive but highly effective hand grenades. He designed what came to be known as the fiery wheel, a wagon wheel soaked in tar, set ablaze, and rolled down the slopes onto the heads of the advancing Ottoman soldiers, causing chaos and horrific burns. These weren't the sophisticated weapons of a professional army. They were the desperate, ingenious creations of a people fighting for their lives. The Ottomans, accustomed to facing predictable European armies, were completely baffled. They would storm a breach in the wall, only to be met with a shower of grenades, flaming wheels, and scalding water. The women of Eger, led by a figure who would later be immortalized as Eva Sisi, played a crucial role. They weren't just tending to the wounded. They were on the front lines. They heated giant cauldrons of water, oil, and pitch, and from the top of the walls, they poured this boiling liquid down upon the attackers scaling the ladders. Imagine the shock and terror of an elite janissary, the Sultan's finest soldier, climbing a ladder only to be met with a cascade of boiling water thrown by a housewife. It was brutal, unconventional, and incredibly effective. The Ottomans launched assault after assault, each one more ferocious than the last. They even tried to tunnel beneath the walls to plant explosives, but the defenders of Eger were always one step ahead. Dobo had his men dig counter-tunnels, leading to terrifying claustrophobic battles fought in complete darkness, hundreds of feet underground. Hungarian miners would listen for the telltale sounds of Ottoman digging, intercept them, and fight them hand-to-hand with swords and pickaxes in the suffocating blackness. Day after day, the pattern repeated. The Ottomans would attack, suffer horrendous casualties, and be forced to retreat. Their superior numbers meant little against the defenders' ferocity and ingenuity. The psychological toll on the Ottoman army was immense. They were fighting ghosts. They couldn't understand how a few thousand peasants could resist their mighty legions. Disease began to spread through their camp, and the first snows of an early winter started to fall. Their supplies were dwindling, and their morale was shattered. They had lost an estimated 10,000 men, a quarter of their entire force, to the traps, grenades, and boiling water of the Hungarians. The myth of Ottoman invincibility was dissolving in the mud and blood before Eger's walls. After 38 grueling days of constant battle, the Ottoman commanders made a decision. They had had enough. On October 17th, under the cover of darkness, the once mighty Ottoman army packed up their camps and retreated in disgrace. Inside the castle, the defenders were almost too exhausted to celebrate. They had won, but at a terrible cost. Yet, they had done the impossible. A handful of ordinary people, armed with little more than courage and creativity, had defeated one of the most powerful armies on earth. The news of the victory at Eger sent shockwaves across Europe. It was a beacon of hope, proving that the Ottoman tide could be turned. The victory saved Vienna and the rest of Central Europe from an immediate invasion, buying precious time for other nations to prepare their defenses. The battle tactics used at Eger, particularly the use of improvised explosive devices and the active role of civilians in defense, were studied by military leaders for years to come. But the true legacy of the Siege of Eger lies in its symbolism. It became a cornerstone of Hungarian national identity, an enduring tale of how unity, determination, and love for one's homeland can triumph over impossible odds. Captain Dobo, Gergely Bornemisza, and the nameless men and women who fought alongside them became national heroes. Their story is a powerful reminder that the greatest weapon in any conflict is not the sword or the cannon, but the unbreakable will of the human spirit. The story of Eger teaches us that when people fight for something they truly believe in, their family, their home, their freedom, they can become an unstoppable force. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into history's most incredible tales. See you next time.